Welcome back, learners. Now let's continue with our application questions. Question 1 says, ABC school organized a trip to a game reserve for 22 grade 10 learners. They received a quotation from 2 taxi companies. Given the graph that gives us the cost per learner for in each and every taxi, where taxi A is the green one and taxi B is the blue one. A says, which company has a fixed cost? We look at our graphs. A company with a fixed cost will be a graph that does not start from the origin. So which graph doesn't start from the origin is the blue one. So the blue graph is taxi B. So taxi B or company for taxi B is the one that has a fixed cost. B says, determine the formula used to calculate the cost per learners if taxi A is higher. Taxi A, it is the taxi that does not have a fixed cost. So it means whatever amount we get, that is the cost per learner. So with such questions, it is difficult to actually say for 22 learners and try and estimate the value and get it right. So you rather check the number of learners whereby the amount is exactly on the line. Then it's easy to calculate that. Let's check. Okay, let's see, for 5 learners, we've got almost for 10 learners. Maybe let's take the 10 learners, because with 10 learners, we can see that it's already on the line there. And what is this line? This is the line. Now let's count our divisions. If this is 1,000 and this is 1,005, we must have 5 divisions. So it's going to be 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,004, 1,005. So it means it actually costs 10 learners. 10 learners is equals to 1,200. Now we can easily determine the cost per learner. So how do we determine the cost per learner? We will say 1,200 divided by the number of learners, which is 10. What is 1,200 divided by the number of learners? This you can also do manually, because 1010, then 120 divided by 1, it will give you 120. So it means taxi A is actually charging these learners 120 per learner for hiring this particular taxi. So if you want to check now, how much did it cost them to cover for 22 learners? Then you can say 120 multiplied by the number of learners, which is 22. So let's use it, let's punch it on our calculator. We say 120 multiplied by 22, it gives us 2,640. So let's check on our graph if this makes sense. We go to our graph, we've got 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So it means 22 is here. So for 22, we can take our line just upwards and we are getting to this point. So when we take this point and align it on our side, we are getting somewhere here. So this is 2.5, this is 2.6, then 2.640. It actually does make sense if we are to look at that estimation. So it will cost each learner 120 to hire taxi A. So let's go to question C. Question C says, determine by use of calculations which taxi will be cheaper if 30 learners paid for this trip. You may use the following formula. We've got cost for taxi B. We are given the formula for taxi B. It says that there's a fixed cost of 800 Rand times 40 Rand for the number of learners traveling in that taxi. So we can start with taxi A. Remember, taxi A, we calculate the cost per learner. So taxi A gave us, it says each learner will be charged how much? 120. So we multiply 120 by the number of learners, which is 30. Then what do we get for taxi A? Let's punch our calculators. 120 times 30, what does it give us? 3,600. So it gives us 3,600. This is for A. Then we go for A. Then we go for taxi B. We are given the formula to use. There's a fixed cost of 800 Rand plus an additional cost of 40 Rand multiplied by the number of learners. How many learners? There's 30 learners. So what is 40 times 30? 40 times 30 is 1,200. So it means we have 1,200 on this side plus the 800 that is untouched. Then we add the 2. What is 1,800 plus, 1,200 plus 800? It gives us 2,000 Rand. What was the question asking? The question said, determine by use of calculation which taxi will be cheaper for 30 learners. So which taxi is cheaper? definitely taxi B. Then you write your conclusion. Do not forget to write your conclusions. The conclusion says taxi B will be cheaper. Will be cheaper. Okay, then we move on to question D. D says the transport tariff increased by 12.5%. Calculate the new cost per learner if taxi B is hired. New cost per learner if taxi B is hired. When we go back to our formula, we can realize that the cost per learner is how much? Is 40 rand. Remember, the 800 is a fixed cost. It's not a cost per learner. So when we calculate the cost for learner for taxi B, which is that 40 rand given, and it has increased by what? By 12.5%. We have to increase it. So remember percentage increase. We are saying 100% is the original amount plus 12.5%, which gives us 112.5%. That is the increase. So it means when you are paying the increased price, you will definitely pay 112.5% of that amount. Or you can use the other method. So what is 40 multiplied by 112 over 100? 40 multiplied by 112.5 over 100. It gives us 45 rand. So it means the new price is what? Is 45 rand. The other method is when you will say 12.5% multiplied by 40, which you will get 5 rand. Then you take the 5 rand, you add it to the 40 rand. We've used that method in the previous question. So then we move on to what the question says. The question says the transport tariff increased by 12.5. Calculate the new cost per learner if transport B is. So we have answered our question. This is the new cost per learner if we have hired this transport. Question 2 says, Anita opened an account with Town Bank. A, calculate the fee charged for a 750 withdrawal at another bank's ATM. Let's look at our fee structure. Our fee structure has given us the fee structures. Now let's check the other bank's ATM. Other bank's ATM, it means this is where we are focusing. It charges you 5 rand 50 cent plus 3 rand 50 per 100 rand or part thereof. When it says or part thereof, it means even if that amount does not amount to 100 rand, you will still be charged for it. So let's calculate. Now we need to find how many 100 rands do we have. Already we can see that this 50 rand does not amount to 100 rand. But if it was only 700, we know that we'll have 7 hundreds in 100 rand. But there's a 50 rand, so it's another 100 rand. We are adding it as if it's 100 rand. So it means we've got a total of 800 rands. Now we can use our formula. So we can say 5 rand 50 cent plus 3 rand 50 multiplied by the number of 100 rand. We say there are 8 because when you say 750 divided by 100, you get 7.5, of which you say the 50 rand should be treated like 100 rand. So it amounts to what? To 800 rands. So multiplied by 8. So we start with what is in our brackets. We say 350 multiplied by 8, which gives us 28 rand, plus the 5 rand 50 that was not touched. Then what do we get? What is 28 rand plus 550? 5 rand 50, sorry, not 500. Plus 5 rand 50, it gives us 33 rand 50 cent. It means Anita will be charged 33 rand 50 cents for withdrawing 750 at another bank's ATM. Question 2B, would it be cheaper for Anita to withdraw 2,570 at her bank branch or at an ATM? We check. At a branch, it means we have to do calculations, obviously, to check which one would be cheaper. Let's start with the branch. At a branch, I'll abbreviate it as B and then bank ATM, I'll abbreviate it as BA. So for branch, we have 23 rand plus 1 rand 10 cent per 100 rand and part thereof. Whatever does not amount to 100 rand should be treated like 100 rand. So we can check that we have 2,570. If we subtract the 70 rand, which does not make 100, we have 2,500. How many hundreds do we have in 2,500? It means you will say 2,500 divided by 100. which gives you 25. But there is a 70 rand that does not amount to 100. So what do we do? Because they said and part thereof. It means we add 100 rand. So it means we add one extra 100 rand, which means there are 2600 rands. Therefore, let me move this a bit down. Then we have for the branch, we'll say 23 rand plus, now this 1 rand, 10 cent multiplied by 26, which is the number of 100 rands. Then we say, what is 1 rand 10 cent multiplied by 26? We get 28 rand 60 cents plus 23 rand. 28 rand 60 cents plus 23 rand, it gives us plus 23, what do you get? 51 rand 60 cents. This is for the branch only. Then for the bank ATM. For the bank ATM, it's what? It's 3 rand 50 plus 1 rand 10 cent per 100 rand. So we will say 3 rand 50 plus 1 rand 10 cent times how many 100 rands? 26 of them. Then this amount, it's still the same as that amount. So when you punch it on the calculator, you're going to get this amount, which is what? 28 rand 60 cent. It is always safe that you always check values that are the same and the operations, just to save yourself time on solving some of the questions. So we add this 3 rand 50. So what is 28 rand 60 cent plus 3 rand 50? 28 rand 60 cent plus 3 rand 50. It gives us 32 rand 10 cents. What was the question saying? Which would it be cheaper to withdraw at an ATM or at a branch? So it is cheaper to withdraw at an ATM. You say therefore at an ATM. At a bank, let's say at a bank ATM. Now we've answered our question. Now we're going to go for an ad break, then we'll continue afterwards.